Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne and today I'm going to tell you all about the books I read in July. Here's my July wrap-up. July was a really weird reading month for me. After only finishing one book at the start of the month, I then had a mini reading slump in the middle of the month, and then at the end I read 4 books in 1 week during the reading rush, which is a readathon that's hosted by Ariel and Raylene, and it was previously known as the Booktubeathon, and it's, I think, the biggest readathon in the bookish community. So despite the slump, I did manage to read 5 books in 1 month, which is pretty good for me. So let's get into them. First off, we have the book that caused my mini reading slump, and that is Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is a YA science fiction novel about a squad of mostly misfits in space, and I did post a full review of this book on my channel, so if you want to see that and if you're interested in that, I'll leave the link up above and or down below, and I'll just give you a quick review right now. So to sum it up really succinctly, I did not like this book. I gave it 2 stars, and that's still pretty generous, I think, considering the fact that I don't really have positive things to say about this book. That's a bit harsh, but it's the truth. I only liked one of the characters, which was Finian, and the rest of the characters was either annoying or just boring to me. That meant that I wasn't invested in the characters, and to enjoy the plot of this book you really did have to care about the characters. I also didn't like the fact that nobody knew what was going on, neither the characters nor the reader, and they kept putting themselves into extremely dangerous situations without knowing what it was for. They had reasons such as, we got to have faith, or I don't know why, but I know we're meant to be here. And those kinds of things just really annoy me and piss me off. And I just kept wanting to know what was going on. And I didn't get to know that until about 300 pages into the book, when we got to have the first glimpse of the situation. And I don't need to know the entire situation from the start of the book. I like a bit of mystery too. But not knowing anything and not having the characters know anything just didn't work for me. There also wasn't any suspense for me, because I knew after a couple times that every sticky situation these characters managed to get themselves in, they would also manage to get themselves out of, with strange solutions and deus ex machina moments, and that just meant that I knew everything was going to work out, and that just makes it boring. Near the end, when we finally do get to know more about the situation and the full scope of it, I did think it was slightly more interesting, and I did like what was going on, but it was just too late for me to really get invested and interested in the story again, and it also didn't make me want to continue the series, just because I'd been frustrated and annoyed for so long. So yeah, that was a bit of a bummer. It was especially disappointing because I loved these authors' previous sci-fi series, which was the Illuminate Files, so I'd expected I would love this too, but I really didn't. So after that, I didn't really read a book until the 22nd of July, when the reading rush started. I did try to start a couple of different books, but I just wasn't into it, so then I just decided to not force it and not read anything until the reading rush started, and hope that my TBR for the reading rush and the challenges for the reading rush would motivate me enough to start reading again, basically. And it definitely did, because like I said, I managed to read 4 books in 1 week, which was surprising to me because I didn't think I'd be able to finish my entire TBR, because I thought it was a little too ambitious. But it turned out not to be. The first book I read during the reading rush was Stardust by Neil Gaiman, and I have to say that I was a little disappointed by this one. I ended up giving it 3 stars, so I did enjoy it, but I didn't love it. This is a fantasy book that reads like a fairy tale, and it is set in Victorian England in a fictional town called Wall. It is called Wall because right alongside the town there is a wall that separates the town from a kind of fairy world where all kinds of interesting mystical things happen. Our main character, Tristan Thorne, goes into this fairy world, which isn't very common. I think he's one of the first people in his town to do so, and he does that because he wants to find a fallen star to give it to his love, Victoria. But Victoria doesn't love him back, and she thinks she sent him on a fool's errand, and that of course he won't be able to find a fallen star and bring it back to her. But in this fairy world, fallen stars can be found, but there are more people looking for this star as well, such as an evil witch and 2 very ambitious princes. The story was fun and very whimsical, which I enjoyed a lot, but I just didn't really connect with it. It didn't make me want to keep reading. It wasn't a page turner for me. However, I do want to read more of Neil Gaiman's work because I have heard great things about some of his other books, and they all seem to be very different. And I also watched the film of Stardust, and I do think I enjoyed that one a little more than the book, and that also seems to be the general consensus about the film and the book. The next book I read is The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes, which had been on my TBR for a very long time, and I ended up really enjoying it, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is a book about a man who looks back on his life and reflects on his memories and the passing of time. It's about him coming to terms with his past and the realization that things might not have happened exactly how he remembers them. Basically, the idea is that time is tricky. I'm a little obsessed with time myself, so this was right up my alley, and I also loved the writing style and the way that Barnes has structured the story, because it's very short. It's only 150 pages, but it's definitely a full novel. This was my first Julian Barnes, but considering the fact that I really love the writing style, I do think I want to read more by him in the future, if time allows. Then I read The Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. With this book I did something I'd never done before, and that is listening to the audiobook while also reading the physical book at the same time. And I really enjoyed doing this, and it actually helped me focus on the story better, so I think I might do it again with classics, for example, or other books that I find difficult to focus on sometimes. And I think it might also have added to my enjoyment of the book, because I was a little surprised by how much I loved this. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I really didn't expect to love it that much. It's a story about a cat and its owner and the special relationship they have. They travel across the country, which is Japan, because Satoru, who is the owner, has to find a new home for his cat Nana. And we don't get to know why he has to find this new home until pretty late in the story, but along the way we do get to hear stories about Satoru's life, because he goes to visit old friends to see if they can take care of Nana, and through their perspectives as well as the cat's perspective we get to know about Satoru's life without ever seeing it from his perspective, which was really interesting. This was sad at times, but it was also heartwarming and really sweet, and it left me feeling happy and warm inside. And then the last book I read in July is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I finally started the Grisha trilogy. And this is also the 3rd book in a row that I gave 4.5 stars. I really love this one, you guys. I must say I was a little apprehensive about this book going into it, because these days a lot of people seem to dislike it. I remember back in the day when everyone was reading this came out in 2012, that everyone loved it, but apparently that has changed over the years. This is the 1st book in the Grisha trilogy, and that is a fantasy series that focuses on a magic system that is quite intricate and that I'm not going to explain right now, but it focuses on people who are Grisha, and those people have special abilities. And it is set in a Russian-inspired world. The story focuses on Alina Starkov, who at the start of this book finds out that she has Grisha powers. I really liked Alina as a main character, and I cared deeply about what happened to her, and that made me really enjoy the rest of the book much more as well, I think. Because the plot of this book is pretty basic, it isn't very surprising, but that didn't really matter to me because I cared about the characters so much, and I was just invested all the way through. And at the end I was just so excited to be excited about a fantasy series again. I'm going to be reading the 2nd book, Siege and Storm, next month, or this month because it's already August, during the Nudes Readathon. So if you want to see my TBR for that, you can click up above probably, or down below, or somewhere on the screen. And I'm really excited to start reading it, but also still a little bit apprehensive because I'm still kind of scared that something is going to happen that makes me dislike this series. But I'll just have to read the book and find out, I guess. And that's it for my July wrap-up. It was a weird but ultimately pretty good reading month, and I'm quite satisfied with what I've read and how I like the books that I read. Although I'm still a little bit bummed by Aurora Rising. I'm also really excited about all the books I plan on reading in August. Like I said, the link to that TBR is up above. So let me know if you've read the books that I talked about and what you think of them, and also let me know your favorite book that you read in July. Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more of me. Thanks so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye!